I would like to welcome the audience to the November 17th, 2020 Parish Planning and Zoning Meeting. Would you all please stand while Coach Williams says the invocation and pledge of allegiance?
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Coach. Christy, would you please call the roll?
Chair Kirk Smith,
Here.
Vice Chair Julia Dickerson,
Here.
Miss Latricia Cobb, Mr. Perfect. Mr. Keith Dubrock,
Here.
Miss Sharon Galicia, Miss Janelle Hyatt, Mr. Art Little,
Here.
Mr. Jake Porche,
Here.
Mr. Carl Vincent, Mr. LaSalle Williams,
Here.
and Miss Deanne Whining.
Thank you, Christy. Our procedures have been adjusted to follow social distancing protocol. This is an 11-member board. It will take the majority of those members present to grant or deny any request heard tonight. The chair will refrain from voting unless the vote may affect the outcome. The meeting will be conducted with me reading the requests for the agenda. The planning staff will give a presentation and report their recommendations. If the applicant would like to add to the staff's presentation, or if someone from the audience has comments, they will need to fill out a blue request to appear form located on the rear table in the lobby. The form must be given to a staff member prior to the reading of the agenda item. When it is your turn to speak, you will be asked to proceed to the second floor meeting room. Please come to the microphone and state your name, address, and the nature of your request. As required by this board's bylaws, in all cases, the proponents will be limited to 10 minutes. Opponents will be granted 10 minutes as well, with each speaker allowed no more than 3 minutes. I recommend that a spokesperson be selected if there's a large group wanting to speak on the same agenda item. If 4 or more speaker request forms are submitted, the time allowed for individual speakers will be limited based upon the number of forms submitted. The chair has the right to limit speakers who present redundant information or personal attacks. In unique situations, the chair may extend or the board may vote to extend the time allotted for speakers. After discussion, the board will vote on each request. I will announce the decision of the board after the vote. The exceptions are final tonight. The rezoning cases will go before the parish police jury for final action on November 19th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. This meeting is being filmed by the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel and can be viewed on Wednesday and Thursday following the meeting. For additional run dates, check the website at www.cppj@calcasieuParish.gov. Channel 5 in Lake Charles, Sulphur, Moss Bluff, Westlake, Vinton, DeQuincy, and Gillis. Channel 99 in Corliss and Grand Lake. Please either turn off or silence all electronic devices. Take appropriate action to approve the minutes of the August 18th, 2020 and October 20th, 2020 Planning and Zoning meeting. I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Dickerson, second by Ms. Hyatt. All those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Take appropriate action on EX-0920-0090, a request by Tabitha Holman et Veer for an exception to allow a residential development manufactured home at 1620 Hurd Road in Ward 1. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Dickerson. Ms. Tunn?
This property is located in Moss Bluff and encompasses 1.3 acres of single-family residential zone land. The petitioner is requesting the exception to allow a family friend to permanently place a manufactured home on her property. The family friend that lost their home due to Hurricane Laura. Because minimal impacts were to be expected, the staff recommends the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided that the director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development, that the manufactured home must be skirted prior to utilities being connected, that the development adhere to stormwater best management practices, and that a natural buffer be maintained to the maximum extent possible along the north, south, and west property lines.
Thank you, Ms. Tunn. We do have a blue card on this item. I guess first we should hear from the applicant if they want to provide something. State your name and address for the record, sir.
My name is Jeff Winters. I'm the father of Tabitha Holman, and we lost everything in a hurricane. We do live in a mobile camper behind our house right now, and we have put a deposit down on a new mobile home to move on the property. We just want to request that we can move it on there. We have a blind son in Ruston right now, staying with some friends because we have no place to put him. And our other son is staying with his pawpaw because we have no room. And as soon as we get the development done, we will be moving a new mobile home in there. And it's going to be set on the property to allow all the parameters to be where they need to be.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Winters? Thank you, Mr. Winters. We have a blue card. I think it's from Jennifer Erickson.
Good evening, board members. My name's Jennifer Erickson. My home is located at 810 Fontenot Road in Lake Charles, Louisiana, 70611. And I'm here to provide the opposition that myself and the adjacent neighbors have to this project. We feel that for all intents and purposes, when Jensen Pine Acres was subdivided originally, it was meant to be rural-sized lots, single-family dwellings, one family per lot. We feel that this particular project would be deleterious to the aesthetic of our neighborhood, would be diminishing to our property values. I share the west property line, boundary line there. So from my saltwater pool, I will have a view of a mobile home, which has a brick home in front of it. I brought with me signatures from 5 other households, 7 of us total, that are opposed to this project, and we would like for you to consider if this were your backyard and you understood when you brought your rural property in a blossoming town like Moss Bluff, that this wouldn't be a project that Ward 1 would approve, especially with the beautification process and program that's in place in our community in Moss Bluff. And we are very thankful for you giving us very careful consideration tonight and hearing our wishes and our reservations about changing the variety of dwelling in our community. I understand a lot of people are in a very difficult place with the hurricane. A lot of people are out of their homes. Their homes aren't being restored by FEMA, by the SBA, by funds that were meant for retirement or illness. However, if we allow this project to go through, it's gonna set a precedence, and there are gonna be a lot more coming through Ward One, wanting to do the exact same thing on these lots, which again does not, it's counterintuitive to the intents and purposes for the neighborhood when it was first subdivided. So again, respectfully, thank you for entertaining our opposition tonight.
Any,
Sure.
any questions for Ms. Erickson?
So you back up to so Fontenot Road backs up to Hurd Road?
Yes, ma'am. So Fontenot and Hurd make
Oh, I see it right there.
the corner there. So the subject property would be the front side on North Perkins Ferry, which is the east side of the plat there. And then I'm behind on the west side, immediately behind. And the folks that sign these documents that would be coming around to you are the ones that would be in line of sight of the proposed project.
Mr. Forte?
I'm looking here on the aerial view, trying to find other mobile homes in this area. Further down Hurd Road, are there some existing mobile homes that are on R1 zone? And then it looks like also down south off of North Perkins, there may be a trailer that's on an agricultural lot on the corner of Marlin in North Perkins. Are there some that are already there
There
in
are
those two areas?
Yes, sir. There are some homes in the area that are mobile homes.
Uh-huh.
Unfortunately, this whole area was ravished by Laura, and many of those mobile homes have been destroyed. I don't know what what the intentions are for restoring those properties, but they're not in my backyard.
Okay.
And they're not subdividing a lot that I have 1.23 acres and, adding an additional single-family home on a lot intended for one dwelling.
Okay. Question for the staff. So in 82, this R1 zoning was done here that goes down Hurd and Marlin and kind of fronts North Perkins. Was that in 82? So that's been established there for a good while? Just asking the staff.
Are you reading that from,
From the,
yes,
okay.
yes.
So I'm seeing a trailer down Hurd Road, what appears to be a trailer. Is that something that maybe would have happened during Rita in a similar situation? There appears to be a mobile home down west on the south end of the road. Just trying to figure out if we're truly just going to, allow to stick a mobile home right here in the middle of the
I don't-
single-family zoning. Is that
Mr.
not a
Portia,
mobile home?
I don't think that's a mobile home there.
Okay.
The mobile homes that we identified were along, just north of the site.
Okay.
That are along North Perkins Ferry.
Right.
And so those are the ones we identified.
Right. And then I see south, there appears, like on the corner of
Yeah.
Marlin and North Perkins, that's existing
Yes.
R2. Okay. Okay,
Thank you, Ms.
that's all the questions I have for now.
Thank you all.
I have a question for the staff.
Right now, we're living in a camper behind the house. How long can they do that?
If they, we do have an executive order right now for temporary housing for people to live in an RV. And that can be up to, 6 months to a year, depending on if we give an extension.
Jake?
I know for Rita, and it goes back to our discussion about putting time limits or, certain stipulations that can't be policed or followed up by the staff. Is there anything that, because obviously, people are in terrible spots right now. Mainly the applicant is a prime example of that. But we do have other neighbors that, once we approve mobile home in an R1 situation, it does set a precedent. So I'm wondering if there's some sort of special storm, natural disaster timeline thing for a couple of years. I know with Rita, it was, okay, you could put it, but because it's not rezoned, if they ever replace the mobile home, they would have to, they couldn't replace it with a brand new one in that spot. Is that how something like this would work? It would only be for this single mobile home?
Well, I think what they're asking for is for permanent. It's
Right.
For something permanent, and that's why we're here tonight.
Right.
If it was going to be temporary, we already have an executive order that
Sure.
is allowing folks to have temporary housing where their homes were damaged.
Right.
Until they can get back on their feet.
Right.
So, that's the reason we're here tonight, is they wanted it to have for permanent.
Permanent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, you're right, we have steered away from those conditions
Correct.
where it can only be for a certain
I
amount of
know.
time, it's hard to police that.
I agree. It's a tough spot.
Yep.
Mr. Winter, do you have something you'd like to add to this?
No, not really. Y'all said it all, and, it's a very large piece of land, and the property that is adjacent to, Miss Erickens' property is growed up with trees. You can't even see her house from the property that we are on. And we don't plan on cutting the brush out. We're just gonna thin it down to get the mobile home set in there correctly. And it will be 36 feet from her property, 15 feet from the property that's north of us, and 30 feet from the property that's south, from the property line of the road at Herd Road.
And this is, your intention is this to be a permanent residence?
Yes, I ain't got much longer to live, I don't think.
I just want to be sure we ask that question of you.
Yeah, now, I do understand there was, where we can put one temporarily there, but it costs a lot of money to have a mobile home moved in there for temporary purposes, and then have to move it out in 6 months to a year or 2 years, however long the, order is for. And we're just, once we set up, we're gonna be, gonna have the concrete drive. It's not just gonna be, camper like it is now.
Okay.
I have one more question.
Can you not put it on your lot? You said your house was destroyed in this.
Can you
I
not
was-
put it on your lot?
I was living in a, evergreen trailer park, and he has already got, FEMA trailers moved in on every vacant lot that he had, after he moved everybody out that was damaged. So there's no moving back there.
Thank you.
Ms. Porche?
Have you contacted any other trailer home parks? I know maybe in a different area, maybe not so close to your daughter, but have you called to see if there are other trailer home parks with spots that are already zoned and legal to put your new trailer?
Most of them are filled up, and the ones that aren't filled up, you just don't wanna be in that trailer park. We're in the
But you were in
neighborhood
the trailer park
where
before?
we have grown up at, and been there for pretty much all my life.
But you were in a trailer park before the storm?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Okay.
But we ain't gonna be able to replace what we had, but what we're getting from the insurance company to carry on and live the way that we was living.
I understand. All right.
Any other questions for Mr. Winter?
Is this a new mobile home or?
Yes, ma'am. It was ordered right after Laura. It's a 2020 Champion mobile home, ordered from Timberline in Moss Bluff. And it's supposed to be in about the 1st of December, the second week, but we haven't broke ground and did anything to have it set up. We are in wait.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments? Mr. Boucher?
Just comments and maybe can generate some discussion with the board. I just, my heart goes out. I know there are a lot of people in some really tough situations right now. But, you know, every decision that we make, I know I say it a lot, but it sets a precedent. And I just want, you know, we try to be consistent and also keeping in mind the neighbors around. You know, this decision here would allow mobile homes in R1. And next month, there may be 2 or 3 that are going to come ask the same thing because, you know, of this potential decision. I'm happy to hear that you do have insurance. That's a blessing. And I think hopefully with the insurance taken care of, he could get into another mobile home park of like kind and be back where he was before the storm. I just have concerns and trepidation to start approving mobile homes in R1 zoning. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Boucher. Anybody else have anything? Thank you, Mr. Winter.
I think you're right, Jake. It's hard because of the situation. If not for the storm, it'd be a much easier choice.
Correct.
But I guess it shouldn't matter, right? But it's hard.
It's it's land use at the end of the day.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to amend the motion on the floor that should this pass, that a 6-foot wooden dog-eared fence be installed on the south and the west property line.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Little for a 6-foot wooden fence on the west
And south
and
property line.
south. What about the north side?
To me, it looks like the north side is 100 and something foot of woods is what it
Okay.
appears to be. So I don't have any issue with that.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Little. Is there a second to Mr. Little's motion? There being no second, fails. Any further questions or comments by the board?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
like Mr. Porche said, he said maybe next month we may be looking at 2 or 3. We've got another one on our agenda, I think, coming up next. Same type of situation. Hardships are something that we have faced all our lives and will face forever. This area, you know, devastated like it has been, we're always making exceptions and variances, different codes. I feel like if we can protect the surrounding area of those neighbors by doing whatever it would take, I don't have an issue with someone coming in on hardships to move in and change our land use with an exception. You know, I don't know if a variance would be better if you can do a variance for a duration of time to give them time to get everything back on your feet. It may be another 50 years before anything ever happens, but I know, like Jake said, we've got issues that come up regular. We started ponds on an area in South Lake Charles that we've seen ponds, and we'll be seeing them for the rest, you know,
Yes.
until we stop doing that. But we're in bad times right now, and I know people are hurting, and a lot of people aren't hurting. I mean, and I'm blessed that I'm one of those that's not hurting right now, that I can live in my home and I don't have any issues with it after the storms. But there's a lot of people that's gonna be coming up here looking for help to do something because they wanna do something. It's not something they wanna do, but it's something they have to do to continue on with their living. Thank you, brother. Mr.
Thank you for
Chairman.
your comments, Mr. Little. Mr. Porche?
I just think this example tonight, I'm very proud of the parish and their decision to allow the temporary housing. I think that in this situation has fulfilled the emergency housing crisis for the applicant. There's an RV there. There's an RV next door to me. My neighbor has one in the front. When it comes time for me to redo my floors, I probably have one in my driveway as well. So I don't think anyone's here tonight saying, you know, there's an RV in a temporary situation. But what's being asked is actually changing the pre-storm condition. The pre-storm condition is R1 zoning with our single-family homes. So there's not a housing crisis. He's temporarily there in an RV. But post-storm, we want things to get back to how they were. Well, this situation would be, now there's a mobile home permanently sitting in the backyard of a single-family home, which to me, we've gone back over the line of infringing on the neighbors in a post-storm condition. That's where I'm battling. I feel like we have stepped up as a parish to help people in the temporary, but we can't put an undue burden on the people that are around in that subdivision, because it in theory could affect their home values. So again, I probably talked too much tonight so far. I'll be quiet.
Thank you, Mr. Porsche. Anything by any of the other board members?
Well, the only thing is we've got so much opposition to it. And when I look at people, they're concerned about them. We have that much opposition. And that's the thing that worries me, is the opposition that we have on this trade, for that area. That's my one. And I feel bad for no easy places to have, someplace to live and separated from his family. This is hard.
Yes.
That's why you were appointed.
Thank you. Thank
These
you,
are
Ms. Kyle,
not,
for your
these are not
comments.
easy decisions.
No further conversation on that matter? Ms. Christie, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Porsche?
No.
Ms. Dickerson?
No.
Ms. Hyatt? No. Ms. Cobb?
No.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
No.
Mr. DeGrock?
Yes.
Ms. Felicia? No. Mr. Williams?
Yeah.
Ms. Whining? No. 7 against and 3 for.
Motion fails. Next item, take appropriate action on EX-1020-0091, a request by Jerry Brocato Jr. et Ux for an exception to allow residential development, manufactured home at 2880 East Goche Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Tunn.
This property is located
In the southeast Lake Charles area and encompasses 7 acres of single-family zoned land. The petitioners are requesting a zoning exception to allow a manufactured home on the property for their son and his family. Their family was renting a home that was destroyed due to Hurricane Laura. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided that the director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development, that the manufactured home must be skirted prior to the utilities being connected, and that the development adhere to stormwater best management practices.
Thank you, Ms. Tunn. I guess we can bring the applicant up. We do have a blue card on this item as well. Yes, sir. State your name and address for the record, sir.
Jerry Brocato Jr., 2880 East Gaucher Road, Lake Charles, Louisiana, 70607.
Thank you.
We're wanting to, this is my son and my daughter-in-law. We're wanting to put a house on the property, a manufactured home. if you look down the road on East Goshen, there's 2 trailers already there, back towards the west. They lost everything too, same as the other fellow.
I'm looking, I just don't see it.
It's, I think 2 lots to the west on
And
the
the-
north side of,
On the north side of
the
Goche?
north side, yes, sir.
Okay.
It's hard to see in
Yeah.
the aerial photograph, but I'm
They're
sorry.
there, but
But there are a couple of trailers in there.
Okay, okay. Mr. Picado, how many acres are right there that you occupy?
8.5.
8.5, okay. Okay. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Picado? Thank you, Mr. Picado.
And I'd like to also add something. I'm Joseph Blake Burrell, his stepson. The reason for us doing this in the circumstances is we already have 2 kids, one on the way, doing 4.5, 5 months. And right now, we're all in a temporary housing already, in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single-wide trailer. So it's pretty tight already. And with us having this next one on the way, we're trying to find the fastest and most comfortable option to be able to get us all into a house to where we're not all crammed, and also with the circumstance of having a new baby. So we're trying to get everything, feel for everything, and we're kind of running out of options. So this is where we're at now, and thank y'all for considering.
Thank you. We have a blue card for Donald Starkovich.
Good evening. My name is Don Starkovich. I live at 2841 East Goche Road, which is directly to the west of this proposed development. We moved there in 1993. Across the street from me was a development of 5 trailers. Before I moved there, I identified that these 5 trailers, if ever any one of them were replaced, removed, they would have to go before the zoning board to get rezoned to put another trailer back. In the period of time between 1993 and to present, 3 of those trailers are now gone. The 2 in front of me, I'm not sure if they're going to be livable. The hurricane has done a tremendous amount of damage to both of them. And quite frankly, I hope that they are removed. If you talk to the sheriff's department, you'll find out that they've had many calls to these 2 trailers for violent behavior. Okay? That is the kind of neighborhood that is directly in front of my house. My house is a 5-bedroom home. It's in shambles, along with everybody else. I will probably max out my insurance to try to get it back to where it was before. Directly to the west of me is Mr. Delahousie. He's experiencing the same thing, but there are 5 homes directly in this area, directly adjacent to Mr. Bricata's property. Mr. Bricata himself has a very large home and a small cottage home for his, I think it's his mother, but anyway, they're very nice homes. We're talking homes that are at least $250,000 or more. Mine has been appraised at $500,000. If we allow this to happen, then these appraisals are going to go out the window. Okay, it's a known fact that when you have multiple trailers next to a nice developed area, you're going to lose value in those homes. Directly to the south on Corbina Road is a very large trailer park.
You have about 30 seconds left.
Okay. Directly to the west is Fairview Mobile Home Park. I have a petition that I circulated. The 5 residents all signed the petition. We have one that's in Houston with his wife that is in favor of not allowing the development to happen, but he was not able to sign because of medical reasons where he was out of town.
Thank you, Mr. Starkovich.
Thank you.
Sir, where's your house located, sir?
Directly in front of the 2 mobile homes, directly in front of the Bricata home is my brother Paul Starkovich.
Are you on the south side of Goche?
We're on the south side.
Okay.
That's correct.
I got you.
Yeah.
So your property is zoned A1 agricultural right now?
I'm not sure. I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The property I bought from the RLP Corporation, they had subdivided
Yeah.
a large section along that south side.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Starkovich.
Any other questions?
These lots here?
We're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for the staff.
Yes.
He's got 8.5 acres. If he were to sell an acre to his son, could his son put a mobile home on that? I mean, is it just
It's R1.
R1? Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's subdivided or not, it's the zoning of the property that's why they're before you.
Homes only.
Yeah. Now, across the street, on the south side, it's A1, and so you could put a manufactured home on that south side right there.
That's what I was looking for. Okay. I'm sure, Mr. Bricado, you got to see what the opposition had concerns with. Is there anything you would like to address with regards to that?
I want my grandchildren to grow up, and if it's on my property, I would love that tremendously. I've got plenty of room. My house is in, just like the sir that just talked before, it's in shambles. I've got a 79-year-old and a 77-year-old mother-in-law that their house is done, and they're living in an RV. We're just trying to make means in family. That's all we got to depend on right now. And that's just about all I could tell you on that.
Okay. Mr. Porsche?
Mr. Procada, would it be feasible, and I understand that, manufactured homes per square foot cost, are less than, but with your 8 acres, would it be feasible to do a temporary housing situation that's allowed as of the right of the parish to do a temporary, and then maybe subdivide a section of your property for them to build something, traditional stick-built home there? I mean, is that part of your thought process, to have them there permanently, but just under the
It's just
existing
what we can
condition?
afford right now.
Right. Okay. Again, temporarily bringing an RV or some sort of temporary housing for them on your property to bridge that gap. So they were living in a manufactured home before this?
No, so we were living in a house.
Living in a house?
Yes.
Okay.
We didn't have, it was our mistake, we didn't have renter's insurance, so we lost everything. So not only are we preparing for a new baby and we have 2 young kids, but we've got to replace everything, everything that we need in a house.
Sure.
Beds, everything. So on top of the finances for that and trying to find a place to live, money is very, very tight right now. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and we're a single income family, so.
All right. As far as trying to really pick apart the previous case from this case, where I would see the main difference would be, as of right, someone could put a trailer directly across the street in A1. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's the only, I guess, difference that I can find between the two cases. But thank y'all. That's all the questions I have.
Any other questions, Shannon?
I-
Mr. Mercado?
I'm sorry.
Sorry, my mic
That's
wasn't
just
working.
me. I'm
Um,
only.
Where are y'all living now?
We're all living in the temporary house on the back side of the property. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, single wide trailer. That, like I said before, 7 of us.
So all
live-
3 families?
Yes.
I mean, you
well,
guys,
My grandparents
Mr.
are in a
Mercado.
camper trailer that they just happened to purchase so that they could be on the property. But that's another reason why we're trying to possibly move into this. My grandma, she has a bad hip. She's about to have to go through surgery. So we were gonna even invite her to come stay with us to kind of help out everything. We patted each other's back, and it's kind of a community, and that's why we're trying to do this.
Gotcha.
Another option that we were also gonna offer is if they're worried about it being close to the road and visible, we do have enough property to bring it behind the house to where it's not as visible. As passerbys, because I know that's another worry about us bringing that in is visible. Seeing a trailer next to a big old, house, 5,000 square foot house.
Mr. Vincent?
Go ahead.
Before the storm, y'all were living in a,
Carl, turn your mic on, please.
before the storm, y'all were living in a home in town?
Yes, sir. 210 Overhill Drive. It was, I think, right at 1,000 square foot house. And it's, right now, it's about 90% gutted.
So my question would be, if you're gonna, go to a mobile home, and I understand why, is this mobile home, are you planning on this being your forever home?
If it was an option that was provided, yes, sir. That's why we're here, because, if we got approved, then I would have to go through zoning of the septic system and everything else, and that's why we're trying to make it permanent, because with the size trailer that I'm trying to get to give us room, I would have to put a septic system in and provide it its own power. So to have to undo that cost of all undoing that, redoing it at another location, plus price of property, plus cost of moving the trailer, it kind of starts building up, and we're just trying to find our best option, and this was kind of the best one, and then we found out we had to come through y'all.
Mr. Porsche?
Seeing there's mobile home parks to the west, and have you guys called to see if there's any available spots in those mobile home parks that would still put you close
The only
to family?
problem with that is we have animals, like, we were at a house with a pretty nice yard. We have 4 dogs and 2 cats, so cramming all that into a trailer, in a trailer park, plus our kids are, used to a yard to be able to play with. We didn't want to have to try to move into a trailer park, rub elbows with somebody else, so that's why we didn't want to try to even consider that.
Right. That's all I have for the applicant. I have
Okay.
some comments once they're.
Any other
Ma'am,
questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
hold on one second. Ma'am, can you give your name, please, for the record? Yeah, we just didn't get your name.
Yes, my name's Susan Burrell.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Mr. Porsche?
Just as we're going through all of this, something was said that it kind of struck a chord. This decision's for many, many years, and it's very likely to end up with a situation of, 10, 15 years down the road, maybe they improve in life and, and further down the road, build a stick home. A lot of this can potentially turn into a rental type situation, which is what the other property owners are concerned with, is just, not just today, tomorrow, years down the road, subletting and just getting into a situation. But that was just my thought process is it's it's for forever. Yeah. It's tough. It is, man. It's a tough decision.
Jake, you see this one a lot different than the other one?
I was just splitting hairs trying to find, not that I'm preferring them over the previous applicant. I'm just trying to dissect it to say,
Well, when across
what's
the street,
different?
you can put a mobile home, and they got 8.5 acres, it feels like it's not encroaching on the neighbors as much, although there's still the issue of the neighbors and land use, so it's
Right, yeah,
so hard.
it's a little different situation that it's not so much a subdivision. I
Yeah.
agree, he's got 8 acres. And there again, yeah, the A1 across the street, as of right, it could put a trailer. Gosh,
But the other mobile home parks are
It's
on
not
that
a good
side of the
day to be
street.
on the
They're on,
board.
oh no, they're on the south side.
Yeah, they're on the south.
Well, there's one on the map on Corbina.
Yep, yep.
Any other
Dadgum.
items of discussion or questions for the staff? There being none, Ms. Christie, roll call vote?
Mr. Little,
Yes.
Ms. Cobb,
Just, I know it's, the discussion is on, but we just denied this man. Yes.
yes. Mr. Porsche,
no.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. DeBrock,
Yes.
Ms. Dickerson,
No.
Ms. Hyatt,
Yes.
Ms. Galicia,
Yes.
Ms. Winey,
Yes.
Mr. Vincent.
Yes.
8 for and 2 against.
Motion passes. Next item, take appropriate action on RZ-1020-0175, a request by Minna Ellen Windsor to rezone agricultural A1 to central business commercial C3 to allow commercial development, boat and RV storage at 6476 Big Lake Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion to approve with conditions. Motion by Mr. Little, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Tunn.
This property is located in the south of Lake Charles and encompasses 1.35 acres of agricultural zone land. The applicant is requesting a rezoning to central business commercial to allow a boat and RV storage facility, which will consist of two 32 by 396-foot storage unit buildings. The proposed development is in addition to an existing storage facility located directly south of this property, which was rezoned in 2016. Because the proposed development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided that the director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development and the light source cannot be visible to the adjacent properties, that screening must be provided in accordance with Section 26-50 of the Parish Code of Ordinances prior to final electrical approval, that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, and that permitting is subject to approval from the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development.
Thank you, Ms. Tunn. We do also have a blue card on this item. I guess we'll have the applicant come first to present anything they would like to.
How y'all doing? Clay Heath, 7253 East Savannah Lane, Lake Charles. We currently own the property adjacent to the south. It's a Plantation Boat and RV storage. We're actually adding on 50 spots to it in December. And we're wanting to purchase the property to the north of us for future development for boat and RV storage.
Any questions? Any comments? Thank you, sir. We have a blue card from Austin Abear. State your name and address for the record.
Austin Abear, 6386 Big Lake Road. You guys have a tough job. I hear you making some life-critical decisions tonight. I don't know how you do it in the age of COVID, but I have some visual aids here. Do I give them to somebody to, can be passed down? Okay. Okay. Says opposition. I'm not sure if opposition is the word. I'm concerned about some issues that I understand it's progress. I'm not as good a speaker as some of these people, so I have some prepared remarks. And it takes me, I practiced a little bit, so it takes me about 5 minutes to read it. I've lived there for 44 years, okay? When I moved out there was nothing out there. All the tracts of land are laid out east-west, and once upon a time, everything drained very well. We back up to Graywood. Once upon a time, there was a drainage canal back there. I mean, like I say, all the tracks were drained to go to the back. Then once upon a time, they came along the city. They 60-foot right-of-way, they cut all the trees down, left the debris on the right-of-way, put in a 50-inch line to the lift station, and kind of messed up the drainage patterns, messing them up real bad. Everything used to drain real well. Now, one of my statements is I understand what capital is, an entrepreneur system. I'm not entrepreneurship, and I'm not against progress. But I just want to be sure that this is done correctly. I'm passing some pictures around, some after a rain incident, some a typical rain. We have a very serious consideration out there. The project that's been done already doesn't drain. I'm supposing that there were guidelines to follow at that time. Well, something was lacking. Either they weren't executed properly, or they just they don't work. These pictures that I've passed around kind of tell the tale that I don't know what to do. Plus, one of my concerns too is my understanding that buildings can come up to about 5 foot of your property line. That's going to put approximately 450 feet of a 15-foot tall building about 50 feet from my back door. Not a very charming sight. That
Thank you, Mr. Abear.
kind of selfish compared to some of the stuff I've heard, but serious just the same.
Thank you. You reach your time. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Abear?
Mr. Abear, I'm going to guess that your property is adjacent on the north?
Yes, sir. Good guess.
Thank you.
I have 14 acres on that side.
Thank you, Mr. Abear.
So exit stage left?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Porsche.
Just got a question for the staff. I know a lot of times, and we explain to the people in opposition that we're step one in the process. If this moves forward, zoning, past the zoning process, that it would go to engineering and permitting, and they would need to get a drainage study a drainage impact analysis. As far as all of his pictures, it seems, valid concerns. Is there, who do they need to bring this information to, and is this given to them? As far as if we do approve this, and this is just a broad question, should they go to the parish building and submit these pictures after it's approved? Or is there, for citizens to express their concerns or show the engineers, these pictures? I'm just asking.
Sure, they can submit that to either our department or engineering department, or they can give it to their police juror
Right.
who represents them to get it to the appropriate department to look at.
Right.
I haven't seen the pictures, so I don't know what
Yeah.
was submitted. Are there some drainage issues out there? There possibly could be.
Right.
What I can tell you is that we do have some drainage requirements in the ordinance. There are situations where they may be able to have a waiver from the drainage, from engineering, because of the size of the property or so forth. This is fronting on a state route.
Right.
So anything that is drained to a state route, that is reviewed by the Department of Transportation. And so
Been there.
Right, and so if you intend to drain that property to a state route or
Right.
roadside ditch, then that goes through their department.
Sure.
And we look at that, our engineering department looks at that to make sure that, how they came up with that, but that's sort of how it works.
Right. I was just so we can communicate.
Yeah.
Moving forward, hey,
Yeah,
we see your pictures, we see your concerns. This is land use tonight.
Yeah.
It's, he did the same thing right next door. So, obviously the land use have been, precedent been set for that type of land use. It's just, hey, come back to the office, or just to give them information of where to move forward with their concerns after this stage.
Any citizen of the parish has the right to submit anything that there's a concern with, drainage or whatever.
Great.
And that will get to the appropriate department and the people to look at that. And typically, they'll send someone out to evaluate what's going on there.
Great.
And sometimes it's a private land issue, and sometimes
Right.
it is a public land issue, so.
Good.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything for the staff?
Will,
We need the applicant back.
There's a comment in that regard. We have to, put our faith in something. I know our Polish German Center. Thank you, sir. Last year, we had our drainage board redesigned and put up, and there's items in place that we hope take care of issues such as drainage as this. I know of issues throughout the parish of drainage, and they are getting better, and hopefully they will provide this gentleman, if it passes, the information that his neighbors need to protect him and the other neighbors from any water damage. So, we've got to put our faith in something, and we've got to have faith that our ordinances are trying to cover those items. Thank you.
Mr. Dubrow.
Will, if he presents these pictures and his information about the drainage problem, is that going to be mainly being a state highway? Is it going to be the state that's going to be in charge of that?
Well, we're not sure yet. We haven't received the plans to see how he's draining the property. But if he intends to drain it to Big Lake Road, the state will be involved with that review.
Because I noticed on the pictures it had evidently when he built the other one, he had a retention pond in the back. That's not doing any good according to the pictures. And I was just wondering if he was going to be required to have a retention pond or if he's going to drain it towards the front.
I'm not sure at this time, and I would have to go back and look at the plans that he submitted for that particular development to see how he did it and what was reviewed in terms of that. But I do want to point out one thing, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure how all this property drains, but to the west is obviously Graywood. I think the gentleman mentioned that. Now, that's inside the city of Lake Charles. The city of Lake Charles has annexed a lot of that property. And so that, depending on where it drains to, there, it could be a gravity drainage district that we would be looking at if there's a main lateral there. But if it's somewhere on that property, that could be either a city of Lake Charles issue or some sort of other private land issue. So just want to make that clear.
Mr. Forshee.
Just, one thing, we're looking at pictures of standing water, but there's no way to tell if that water wasn't standing there before this development. And if it's made it worse, with the retention pond, it should be a zero impact as far as they're adding a lot of impervious surface. But if it's all draining to the retention pond, and just from my experience, even if it goes to the retention pond, if the outfall goes back to Big Lake Road, then the state is still, and they are very stringent on the drainage hoops that they make you jump through. So it appears that this first development, like I said, we don't know, it may have made this better. We're just looking at pictures of standing water going, oh no, but it could have made it better.
Of course, you could ask the applicant too.
Right. Bring the applicant in.
Jake, the pictures are dated 4/4 of 19. I don't know if you wanted to know that.
Mr. Heath?
Yes, sir.
We were looking at pictures of standing water on the property to the north.
Oh, man.
But like I was explaining to them, we don't know if that was just an existing condition. It appears that your previous development, they required you to do a retention pond, and all that was done properly. So can you speak to the existing conditions there when you built and had to build up to elevations, what that looked like before you started the development?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't seen the pictures, but we've been there 3 years and it hadn't flooded in 3 years. So we just had a storm come through too that y'all know of, and we had 8 inches of rain within a 12-hour period with Delta, and we had 0 flooding. So the property does drain to the west to the pond.
Right.
It currently is not a retention pond.
Okay.
It was a pond that we used dirt to build the pad with.
Right.
Because I didn't want to mess with the characteristics of the property.
Right.
We are digging that pond out another half an acre.
Okay.
With the runoff management plan that we're having done now. It's going to require it to be a retention pond with the addition that we're adding to our property. So the parish has put a lot of stuff in place from going from 30% to 20 and impervious rock now. Mr. Hebert has the property north of us, Good Earth, and he probably has more impervious area than we do with no pond. So, he was fortunate enough to get there before we did. But there's a lot of measures put in place, and I do not want to flood any neighbors, nor do I want to flood myself. So we're going to take the actions that the DOTD and the parish is going to make us and get the runoff plan done, and it'll all be draining properly.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Being none, thank you. Thanks. We're done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, there is a second set of photos coming your way.
Okay.
I'm tired. They don't give you a real name plate? You're Sam Gabb? You look a little different. Not that important?
Sam Gabb stand-up. But I'm Ed McGuire, with anybody that's been here before.
Nice to meet you.
Sam and I are law partners. Sam's quarantined at the moment.
Oh.
He's in jail. Not
Quarantine jail.
He's in quarantine jail. Not really.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe you should be.
You know, that's next week. I might be back. We'll see what happens.
Well, I'm giving him the opportunity to see him. If he- Right. Sure. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, a question for the staff on this.
Yes, sir.
Looking at the pictures, Mr. Abear has a house to the north of this property, it appears.
Yes, sir.
Is where he lives. And I don't know, I don't see any provisions to protect him from eyesores, fencing or anything. Like he said, you can build up to the property line pretty much with that bid. Is there any provisions in this that protects him from that?
Do we have a condition?
Yes, sir. We have a stipulation that they have to screen accordingly. So he would have
Okay.
to do some screening on that north side because he abuts the residential portion of his
Right.
home. And,
Okay, thank you so much. I missed that.
sure.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that section requires screening.
Right.
Everyone's got to see all the pictures?
Just,
Okay. Any questions from the staff regarding?
can I
any of
add
the
one more thing to
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Little's? Just so you know also, if a commercial use abuts a residential use, they have to meet that setback requirement. So he'll have to meet a setback requirement on that north side.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. Being no further questions or comments, Ms. Christie, roll call vote.
Mr. Little,
Yes.
Mr. Porsche,
Yes.
Ms. Galicia,
Yes.
Mr. DeBrock,
Yes.
Ms. Cobb, Ms. Winey, Ms. Dickerson, Ms. Hyatt, Mr. Williams,
Yeah.
Mr. Vincent.
Yes.
10 for.
Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is to advise that the police jury took the following action on October 22nd, 2020, with reference to the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board from October 20th, 2020 meeting. Oak Run, Manchester Road, Planning and Zoning recommended to deny, police jury denied. Alvin Stevens, North Perkins Ferry Road, Planning and Zoning recommended approval, police jury approved. Robert Bilal, Ravier Road, Planning and Zoning recommended to deny, Planning and Zoning denied. Police jury rather denied. The next item on the agenda is to advise that the next regularly scheduled Planning and Zoning meeting will be held on Tuesday, December 15th, 2020.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Crane.
Just want to remind the board that next month, you'll be electing officers for chairman and vice chair. So just wanted to remind y'all for that.
Thank you, Mr. Crane. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyatt. Meeting is adjourned.